Hello everyone, my name is printmaker Reinis Gailitis, and this is how I made the sun engraving. My works usually consist of two ideas, the visual idea and the technical idea. Let's start with the technical idea. Engravings have one very major flaw, not having even uniform black color. As you can see in these examples, there's white dots scattered in the background. You have to make the black color tightly weaving and meshing the engraved lines, engraving in multiple directions. And still it results in this uneven, ununiform color. Previously I have tried to circumvent this flaw by making the black color in relief print. Relief print is when you roll an ink on top of the surface and then print it. It gives a very good effect. It's even black color, but you have to print the work twice, one in intaglio and one in relief. Previously I've combined these techniques in the lamp prints 1 and 2 and also in the earth engraving. As you can imagine, printing it multiple times and combining different techniques on the same piece of paper can cause a lot of problems, a lot of rejects. So I wanted to figure out a solution how I can do it on a single plate. Luckily for me, a couple of centuries later, a new technique came into the scene called Mezzotint. As you can see in this example, it has something that I need, very uniform, even black color. So how do you do Mezzotint? There's a specific tool called Mezzotint rocker. With the use of this tool, you rock it back and forward, leaving tiny indentations in the Copperplate. To get the even black color, it has to be rocked in multiple directions. For every little square, it has to be rocked in 16 positions. Afterwards, you can achieve tonal differences by flattening the raised grain, either by polishing it or scraping it out, as in this example. By varying the height and density of the raised grain and how much ink it can take, traditional Mezzotint results in very painterly looking works of art. They look like beautiful charcoal drawings with very fine and smooth transitions. At this moment you would be right to call me out, like, Reinis, what are you doing? These are two completely different printing languages. Your engravings are linear, they're like pen drawing, while Mezzotint is like charcoal drawing. They don't match, they're two different things. But hear me out, I want to do Mezzotint only for the black backgrounds without trying to make tonal transitions. To verify my theory, whether these techniques can even be combined in a way that I want to, I made this little sample here. There's different things, there's dry point, there's scratching, but there's also pure Mezzotint and pure engraving. And this example verified my idea. It is possible to rock the Mezzotint, then scrape out the areas that I want, and then engrave on top. And this is the result. So black Mezzotint, scraped out white, and then engraved on top. I know it might be weird to some of you, but that's how my mind works. I oftentimes figure out the technical challenge. I have to figure out what to actually make. The surface of the sun would be a perfect depiction because there's the bright, shining surface that could be engraved. There's the black cosmos of the space. And then there's these white plasma plumes shooting out, which could be scraped out and engraved on top. This idea came from my conversation with Anne Schaefer during the Platemark podcast. If you're interested, feel free to check it out. And there I discussed the potential destruction of the digital data in solar flare case and the permanence of printed media and physical objects like printing plates and paper. Now to the making of the plate itself. The copper plate first have to be waxed. The wax serves as a sticky layer that can catch the graphite particles when transferring the image onto the plate. The sketch is burnished from the other side. Pencil tracing sticks into the wax. As it's not a permanent transfer, the waxed surface can brush off and erase transfer. All the image has to be retraced once more with a dry point. This leaves a permanent scratch into the copper plate. Now that everything is retraced, it can be washed off and the engraving and Mezzotint rocking can start. And like that, every single line. Usually once a week I would make a proof print. Check whether anything needs to be changed. A little bit more Mezzotint here, a little bit more engraving here. And so every week I would look at it and see what needs to be changed. For overview, all this process took me around 3-4 months till the finished engraving, slowly, line by line. Once I look at the print and nothing bugs me too much, I don't see any major corrections that need to be changed, then I know the engraving is complete. We have arrived at printing. If you've seen my previous videos, you know how it goes. Ink roller, rubber squeegee, rubber gloves to keep my hands clean and for better traction with the tools. The ink is applied onto the copper plate with the rubber squeegee. A rubber silk screen squeegee is used because it's soft and doesn't scratch the plate in the process. I previously used old bank cards and they had a nasty tendency to leave bad scratches on the plate. This is an ink dabber. Ink dabber is used to rub the ink inside the engraved lines. It's very handy for smaller plates, but as this is the larger plate, I've discovered that these soft foam rollers work perfectly for it. It's rolled back and forward and you can see that ink is thoroughly rubbed inside the engraved lines. That's one of the biggest flaws that I see in engravings, that the ink hasn't been thoroughly rubbed into all the grooves, which results in a blotchy print. I removed the excess ink with a piece of cardboard. It's a little bit more rigid than the rubber squeegee, so it helps me remove the excess ink. No ink goes to waste. The excess ink is put back onto the rubber squeegee and will be used for the next inking. For wiping the plate, first I use tarlatan. It's as you can see, this fabric, cheesecloth-like fabric, and the empty gaps in the fabric catch the ink. What's good about tarlatan is that it's more reusable than paper or other materials. It can be used for wiping many plates till all those gaps in the mesh are filled with ink and then it's discarded. Afterwards I use a newsprint to wipe the excess ink from the plate. It gives a very good polish. It removes all the grease from the plate. As you can see, the plate is nicely inked before printing. There's always some remaining ink caught on the sides of the plate. I use a piece of fabric with chalk on it to clean the sides of the plate. It really gives a good and professional look to the print. Let's go. Now, while I prepare for the printing, I would like to name some patrons. Michael, Rick, Edward, Claude, Olivers, Townsend, Ben, Carol, Krista, Sarah, Edgars, and others. Thank you very much for your support. If you would like to support my work, consider becoming a Patreon member and checking the links in the description. Thank you. Now that we are ready to print, let's place the plate on the printing press. On top we lay soaked cotton paper that is blotted so that it's damp but not wet, and then slowly the plate is rolled through the press. As this sandwich is rolled through the press, the felted fabric presses the paper inside the inked grooves of the engraved plate, in the process lifting the ink onto the paper, resulting in a print. Pulling back the print and revealing the image is always so satisfying. It never gets old. The last task before we finish. As the engraving is printed on a damp paper, you know what happens if you spill a coffee or tea onto a piece of paper. It curls up. Similarly this, if I would leave the page like that, it would also curl up and bend and distort. So what you do is that you take water adhesive tape, stretch it to the board and let it dry. As it dries, the paper shrinks and flattens out, and once dried it can be cut off for a perfect, smooth, straight print. And here is the close-up of the final print. It was actually a diptych, 2 prints. Copperplate engraving depicting the surface of the sun, and the boxwood engraving, which is a relief print depicting the whole sun. They really like how they both look together. One that you have to step back to take in the whole, and the whole sun where you have to step closer to take in all the details. It's been quite a while since I completed this project, almost a year ago. Since then I have tried to develop this technique, which has resulted in the Moths engraving. you would like to follow more of my works, please see the links in the description. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Have a great time.